Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the island, Phillip Island to be precise. It is the end of year celebration known as Island Magic, the 2024 edition of this prestigious event held at the 4.5 kilometre circuit by the shores of Bass Strait. We welcome you from wherever you're watching here at the track, around Australia or around the world, to this traditional end of year finale here in the great state of Victoria. The schedule for the day looks like this. The Porsche 944s are not too far away from kicking off proceedings for the Saturday races, followed by the sports sedans. Formula V, who put on an absolute show here last year with 37 cars, they're returning with 32 this time around, in a round that also encompasses the final event of the Australian Formula V series. Sports cars to follow after that, followed by improved production again with a great field here this weekend. Formula Ford, historic touring cars will do another 25-minute hit out for sports cars, second to last from the end of the day. And then to round things off, the Australian Formula Open will be the ones on track to close out proceedings for racing here on Saturday. My name is Steve DeVries, and what I'm about to do is hand it over to the 944 commentator extraordinaire from this year in Matthew Dunlop.
Thank you so much, Steve DeVries. It's great to be back in the commentary box here at Phillip Island on a fantastic day. It's a perler. Last time we were here about a month and a half ago for the State Series, it was miserable if you don't like the rainy weather, but if you like watching rainy action on race cars going around, it was a great one. But there's going to be action aplenty all weekend long, and it's a perfect day for it. The drivers have already been working up a sweat in qualifying, and now the 944s are just getting ready to roll on out for race one. If you're trackside, get yourself plenty of shade like these folks that we're seeing here on screen, because that sun is biting hard, as it always does here at Phillip Island. Great to see the fans coming out to watch some great racing. My name is Matt Dunlop, and joining me alongside for this first 944 race is Mr. 1800 Lasagna himself, Joey Kellick. It's great to have you in the box.
Hi, buddy. How you going?
Fantastic, mate. Great to see you here up as well for this last round of the Porsche 944 Club Championship, brought to us by Isola Di Capri. We've already wrapped up the state title. Cameron Bella is the first 5-time Victorian 944 champion.
Incredible effort.
Can he go the extra mile this weekend and become the first 5-time club champion as well?
I think he can. I think it's written all over this weekend. Cameron Bella is the one to beat for sure. But everyone's just not far off. The top four in particular. Very, very, very close in qualifying.
Let's take a look at that grid. So Cameron Bella will start from pole position. He's got a 19-point points buffer leading into this weekend, so he's in a pretty good spot. James Westaway lines up alongside him. He's won the most races out of anyone by far, but he's had a few DNFs, and that car was in tatters last round, and they've got it back up and running this weekend here after a pretty hefty repair 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, huge repair there. I was speaking to his father, Tony, earlier. He reckons that might have been about 10K worth of damage to that. So huge turnaround to get that back out for Island Magic.
Great to see that number 28 back on track, because there's battles between Bella and Westaway have been fantastic. But behind them, it's Adam Brewer in the number 3 and Mark Verdino, who won the round last time out at Calder Park. He's got some red hot form, and I can't wait to see how he mixes it up here. Behind them, we've got Ryan Woods on the timing sheet, but Ryan Woods is the entrant of the car. The driver is actually his nephew, Damon Woods, who we've been seeing getting a good run in Formula Ford, stepping into a 944 for the first time, and he's put it on 5th position, which is a great result next to Chris Lewis-Williams. And behind them, Tony Westaway returning to the number 50 car. Great to see him, alongside Tony Andrzejewski also returning.
Yeah, looking fantastic. I tell you, Mark Verdino is another one that was just back to him. He is his car looks like it's been pulled from the bottom of a dam. It's so beat up after this year, but he is so fast at the moment. So he's another one to look out for. And Damon Woods, first time in a 944 around here, and he's really one to look out for. He's super, super quick.
Rounding out the grid there, we've got Joshua Brisbane, Peter Grant, Mark Torbitz, Andrew Jackman, Jack Atley in the number 35, and Nicholas Carpenter rounding out the grid in the final position there. So we're not too far away from the first of the racing action here at Phillip Island. So they're just gridding up now. It's a gorgeous day. You can see all the way down to Bass Strait. You can see the horizon today. Perfect day to go racing, unless you're sitting in one of these race cars, no air conditioning, hot racing suit on, boiling.
Or in this commentary box.
Or it's somewhat nice in this commentary box. We've got an aircon. It's trying its best.
Yeah, it feels like a greenhouse right now.
But when you've got a view like this around the whole of the track, and indeed a lot of the island, you can't really complain up here. So we get one of the best seats in the house, but it's nowhere near as good as the 14 seats that are pulling up on the grid right now below us. So Porsche 944s, Cameron Bella is leading the championship by 19 points. Chris Lewis-Williams is second in the title standings, 1 point ahead of Mark Verdino. So there's still a few drivers mathematically eligible, but it would have to take something very unfortunate to happen to Cameron Bella. The rest of the field are just gridding up now. We're also hoping to see the number 7 of Carter Fox, but unfortunately, after practice yesterday, that car is nowhere. There's coolant where the oil should be and oil where the coolant should be, so that car is not moving. But we do have 14 cars on the grid waiting for the go-ahead to get this weekend of Island Magic kicked off. The 5-second board is up. The revs are building. The red lights are on. We're not too far away. We're underway here at Phillip Island. It's a great start from Jamie Westaway. He's side by side with Cameron Bella. He's got just a little bit of an edge on them as they run down to turn 1, crowding him to the inside of the track. Cameron Bella is going to have the run here. Jamie Westaway might try to hang on around the outside through turn 1. He does so, and he's actually going to have the position here, and he'll have the line into turn number 2. So a great start for Jamie Westaway as we see a little bit of a puff of smoke behind there, but a very, very clean start for the field here. Great racing between these two already, and Adam Brewer and Mark Verdino do not want to let this battle go yet.
Oh, yeah. Everybody seemed to get a good start. Everyone got away cleanly. But, yeah, very tight here at the front. Damon Woods in 5th has blitzed. He's right on the back of these front guys, which is really impressive.
It'll be great to see what Damon Woods can do in his first outing in a 944 as Jamie Westaway holds his line around the outside of the number 55 of Cameron Bella, and he is going to slot in front here to lead the way with that cyan machine right behind him. He's also going to have a look into Siberia there, but decides better of it this time around. There's still a bit of time to play with here. It's a 15-minute race from when they rolled out of the pits. So they'll have a few laps under their belt here to be able to make some moves. So they're all going to tuck in here and just see what the track is doing, see what kind of a slipstream they can get up this sort of back. You can call it it's weird. You can describe it as a back straight. It's anything but straight. It's very, very curvy and windy. But if you get a good run of momentum, it acts like a straight. And if you get good slipstreams up there. Yeah,
you're pretty flat chat. A little bit of understeer through Hayshed, but yeah, it's a flat chat. As you see Andrew Jackman going inside Josh Brisbane through MG there. Yeah, it's very, very very crowded at the back of the in the mid-pack there.
They're side by side still as they go through 11 and 12. Jack Atley in the pit lane clothing machine is right behind with the number 71 of Mark Torbett sitting behind them as well. If you want to come on down and check this out tomorrow if you're around, tickets are available at the gate. Come on down as they cross the stripe for the first time in anger. Jamie Westaway leads the way ahead of Cameron Bella, Adam Brewer, Mark Verdino, Damon Woods, Chris Lewis-Williams, Anthony Westaway, Tony Andrzejewski, Andrew Jackman, Josh Brisbane in 9th and 10th respectively we see here. And behind them it is Jack Atley, Mark Torbett, Nicholas Carpenter and Peter Grant.
Torbett looks down on power there. He seems to not be able to hang on to the trio of Jackman, Atley and Brisbane down the straight there. He's looking a little underpowered, which is a shame. But there is action. There's battles going on all the way through the field here. This is awesome.
Have a look at this. Look, wonder if Adam Brewer's going to try and sneak up the inside of Cameron Bella here on the back of Jamie Westaway, because he will make the move here into turn number 4. But Cameron Bella is not going to leave that door open for the number 3 machine. Great scrapping there. Mark Verdino behind them using all of the runoff on the exit and a little bit more. He is throwing that number 44 side-link transport machine around this Phillip Island circuit.
Damon Woods is doing great to stay in the back of Verdino here. We're a couple of laps in, and he is still in touch with the front guys, with Lewis Williams just a second or so behind.
Have a look at
here we
this.
go. We see Bella here making a move through Hayshed around Westaway to go inside him on Lukey Heights. This is looking good.
Giving themselves plenty of space in between there, keeping it nice and respectful, but still side-by-side action between Cameron Bella, the current champion, and Jamie Westaway, who has to slot in behind them as they go through MG. So it's Cameron Bella who's going to take the lead back. Adam Brewer is going to be trying his best just to see if he can sneak through. He's got a bit of time to play with here, and this is going to be a fantastic race. This top 5 all the way until the end of this scrap. Damon Woods is going to be loving his time in the car for the first time, seeing all this action right in front of his eyes.
100%. That was ballsy by Bella to leave the door open into MG the way he did, but I suppose he had confidence that he was able to leave that open without Westaway getting a move on the inside, although it looks like Westaway's making a move on turn 1 right now. Look at that.
Look at that. Flies past him, gets the draft, goes right up the inside. No question about it. Jamie Westaway is your leader once again as Mark Verdino bowls it wide in the background there. Gets it back on track. Doesn't lose a huge amount of time, but does lose 4th spot to Woods in the number 17.
Fantastic by Woods there. He's kept his composure with Verdino going off in front. Now Verdino's got to, for the minor placings in the championship. Verdino, if he finishes, I think, in front of Chris Lewis-Williams this weekend, he will steal 2nd spot in the championship, which is something he's very, very keen on doing, as we see Westaway through Honda in front of Bella still, with Brewer really, really close, tucked in behind there.
These two leaders, Bella and Westaway, are just driving in tandem at this stage. They're not letting each other go. They're side by side for half of the lap. It's incredible stuff. These two have been duking it out for years in the Porsche 944s. They're two of the fiercest competitors going around. They've got a great lot of respect for each other, and it's so much fun to see these two drivers and all these drivers battling it out. Adam Brewer, one of those drivers who's been there or thereabouts. He's been really up the pointy end of the field, and you can bank on him for a really consistent result. Any race where you're not seeing Brewer on the podium is a bit of a rarity these days.
It's true. He's battling hay fever this weekend, so he's very sniffly and very grizzly at the moment, but he's still putting in a fantastic effort. It's textbook stuff, classic Phillip Island stuff between Westaway and Bella here.
Yeah, there's certainly a bit of pollen in the air at the moment, but a bit of petrol in action and burnt rubber in the air as well, which is what we love to smell here at Phillip Island. That's the number 35 pit lane clothing machine, just tucked in behind the 56 green machine of Josh Brisbane there. As we look at the battling towards the back of the field here, Mark Torbitz has made his way past Peter Grant and Nicholas Carpenter. Peter Grant was having a really good weekend at some point in Calder Park, had a lot of pace in that machine. I think got a top 5 finish in the second race there, but unfortunately DNF'd in the third race after a bit of an off there. So that car has pace. He's just adjusting a little bit to this Phillip Island circuit as he goes side by side now with Mark Torbitz. He goes around the outside, Torbitz on the inside. There's a bit of space between them, and I think Carpenter's going to try and have a look here as well to cop a draft off the back of PJ Grant. But Mark Torbitz is going to have to slot in behind. PJ Grant makes his way around the outside at turn 1. Great racing.
Yeah, great racing. Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that Torbs is a little underpowered there, but great to see Atlee just in front of this group. Jack Atlee, who's had a decent start and showing some of that tenacious fighter, killer instinct that he has there too. I gave him a bit of a pep talk at the start of the race. So. But he started really strong. He's going hard. It's great to see him on the back of Josh Brisbane there.
It's great to see him, throwing it in, because he's closed that gap up quite a bit now to the number 56 machine, who in turn is trying to take a look at that number 20 Poolmaster Bayside car of Andrew Jackman in front of him. So we've seen a lot of battles all the way up and down the field all season long in the 944s, because we do always see the usual suspects at the front of the field, your Jamie Westoways, your Cameron Bellas and your Adam Brewers, as we see, but you can rely on this pack of all the 944 field being able to battle all the way up and down, and it's one of the reasons I love this category so much. All these cars are really evenly matched, and it means you get great action from the lights until the flag at the end of the race. Jamie Westaway's just started to pull a few tenths here on Cameron Bella, but that does not mean this race is anywhere near over, because Cameron Bella, if we know him well, we know that he can make a late resurgence. We know that he can save a little bit for the end of the race, put the foot down a little bit further, and Jamie Westaway knows this. That's why he's sticking the car all the way to the inside of the track there. It's a great bit of defensive driving there from Westaway, who doesn't really need it at this point, because Cameron Bella's lost a spot there to Adam Brewer. He looks to be a bit slow there.
He's lost a few spots. I think he's got a problem as the last lap board comes out. We've got the last lap. Cameron Bella slowed significantly toward the end of that straight. He's still in front of Woods, but something not going, not quite right with that car at the moment. Yeah,
it's definitely uncharacteristic of Cameron Bella. He's actually pulling almost out of the way here. And as they roll past, I'm trying to have a bit of a listen to the car to see what it sounds like. That doesn't look great, unfortunately, for the number 55.
Nah, blowing smoke. That's a shame. Hopefully that's not something that's terminal. And hopefully he can make it to the end of this race to get classified there and get some points.
He's going to try and keep the car out there to just bank as many points as he possibly can, because even though we've got our, the championship fight is pretty close here, he's got a 19-point buffer, but the worst round for a driver is struck off your total at the end of the championship.
True, that's correct. Let's, Damon Woods, 3rd place on debut. Come on.
Fantastic effort so far, driving that number 17 car. He wasn't feeling too great about it when I had a chat to him. He said it felt a little bit sketchy. He still had a lot to learn about the car. And whenever you hear someone who's jumped in the car for the first time and their first response is like, oh, I can be doing this better and that better, you know they're speedy, you know they're quick, and it's great to see him out on track, mixing it up, on for a podium right now. It's awesome to see.
Unreal. And, you know, Island Magic, it's the one to do it at. Every round is important. Every round is fun and great. But, yeah, Island Magic is the one we get the trophies for, which we love. We love a good trophy.
There'll be a last-minute challenge here for Mark Verdino as they round the final corner of this race. The checkered flag is out and waiting for these cars. It is going to be Jamie Westaway who takes race 1 here at Island Magic on Saturday afternoon. Adam Brewer, second position, and it is Damon Woods on debut who takes third, the final podium spot just ahead. Meanwhile, in the back, there's a bit more battling. Cameron Bella just holds off Chris Lewis-Williams by a few hundredths of a second there, and the rest of the field filters through. That's Tony Westaway crossing the stripe there in 8th position, ahead of Jackman, Atlee, Grant, Brisbane. A lot of moving and shaking in that sort of mid-pack there towards the end there. Mark Torbitz and the number 14 of Nicholas Carpenter coasting across the line. That car did not sound healthy at all, so we hope that one's going to be able to get up and running for the rest of this weekend. But what a fantastic way to start proceedings here at Island Magic.
Awesome. It's pretty hot out here, so it's a great testimony to the toughness of these Porsche 944s, that they can get through this scorching heat without imploding. Unfortunately, it looks like Bella's might have had a bit of Cameron Bella's had a bit of a problem with his car, but yeah, really great race. Always fun with the 944s. Always exciting. Really good to see.
Let's take a look at that top 10. So it is James Westaway who wins with the fastest lap. 2.2 seconds ahead of Adam Brewer and Damon Woods on debut. Third position, fantastic result. Just holding off Mark Verdino in 4th. Cameron Bella had a bit of an issue there, got it home in 5th position, but we'll see how that car tracks for the rest of the weekend. Chris Lewis-Williams behind in 6th position, ahead of Tony Andrzejewski, Tony Westaway, Andrew Jackman, and Jack Atlee. Rounding out your top 10, then it's Peter Grant, Joshua Brisbane, Mark Torbitz, and Nicholas Carpenter. That was race 1 of the Porsche 944s. We will have more 944 action coming up tomorrow, first thing on the broadcast, so don't miss it from 9:10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. But before then, we have so much more action to come here at Phillip Island. Next up will be Formula V's, so they won't be too far away. My apologies. Next up will be Sports Sedans. I was looking at the wrong part of the schedule there, and I've got a few faces in the commentary box looking at me, shaking their heads. It is Sports Sedans coming up next here at Phillip Island. Don't go anywhere. You will not want to miss those beasts thundering their way around this Phillip Island circuit. Back in a moment.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit for Island Magic. 34 years in the making. How much fun is it to be out there? Great to see people with their picnic tables out, 2 blue Eskies in front of them, having a snack down there. Looks like turn 1 or something. G'day, guys. Hope you're enjoying everything here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Give us a wave down there. You got the Eskies out, having a lovely snack being broadcast right across Blendline TV, and of course local radio network, as is customary, 87.6 Island FM for all the circuit commentary as well. Ramada Resort, the Wyndham in Phillip Island, again supporting the 50k plate. The Big Bangers, the Gods of Thunder, love to stay at the Ramada. We have got a fantastic weekend of racing, as it always is at Island Magic. Of course, we have already had race one for the weekend, the 944s, Sports Sedans, the Big Bangers next, Formula V, sports cars, improved production. They are going to be awesome here this weekend. Formula Ford and Formula Ford 1600, the historic touring cars, a crowd favourite everywhere they go. The sports cars will have a long race tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And all leading up to 4 o'clock today, the Formula Open Australia race will be the last race of this weekend, of this day today, and then we do it all again tomorrow. The Sports Sedans will be on at 9:50, and then the 50k plate will be on at 1 o'clock. Formula Open at 10:10, and their final race for the weekend at 2:10. Sports Sedans for the Groove Train Eastland, QP Lubes, and National Blind Supplies are all down in the marshalling area, getting themselves set to go. The grid just being rolled through as we speak. It'll be Stephen Lacey, the New South Wales racer. He will be on pole position. He's parked the yellow Camaro and he has come back with an amazing piece of kit. Really, really looking forward to seeing Steve get out there in the IRC GTS entry LS-based power plant there. So he's on pole position, and I tell you what, the last guy you want to share the front row of the grid with in improved production or sports sedans is Ray Hislop, because if you make any sort of mistake, 1/1000th of a second losing to Ray Hislop will have you in a world of pain. Ray sitting on the second spot on the grid. Adam Poole in car number 23 will take up the next spot on the grid. Adam in his Holden VZ Commodore TRP ductwork. He needs very little introduction here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, just like Ray Hislop. Massive success in improved production over the years, and he finds himself on position number 3. And ladies and gentlemen, in position number 4, I'd like to introduce you to a guy you may have heard racing in the early 70s in Formula 5000. He now sits in car number 12 on the second row of the grid. Young Chas Talbot down there. He is 80 years of age and still going racing. He joins another fantastic bloke in Victorian Australian motorsport, Ken Cage Johnson, who celebrates 55 years of service to the sport, the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club, to Sports Sedans and the recovery team here at Phillip Island. I'd love to send out a massive thank you to Ken Cage Johnson. Cage has been a huge figure with his wife Lynn over many, many years within the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club, and a career of care and understanding as he picks up your wreck that you've put on the side of the road. And he's one of the guys that doesn't do any more damage picking up your car and taking you back to the pits, and will offer you some generous advice on how to get the car ready again. So thanks, Cage. Thanks, Lynn, for all of your years of service to the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club. Of course, the promoters here this weekend at Island Magic. But Chas Talbot, he is on position number 4. It was ZZ Top that said, everybody loves a smart dressed man. Dean Cam on position number 5 in the number 66 Corvette. Needs very little introduction there as well. Rand McGlurkin Sr. in the number 56 car out of 6. 7th is Brett Dickey, and this is a big surprise, a guy with plenty of news, and we'll come to that over the weekend. Milton Seferis, a massive welcome back. This guy knows how to win at Phillip Island. It's probably been a decade or so since he's done it, but Milton is a massively experienced sports sedan racer, and it's been really good to see him make a couple of little comebacks this year, and he does like the 50k plate. So Milton Seferis out there on track there as well. Andy Parker is the next one in number 14. Johnny Paletto, who is fighting, battling it out for the floor pan class. Adrian Munger, who is new to the game as well. He's next on the grid. Greg Lynch, Darden Brown in the red Gallant. He heads out onto the track as well. Adrian Reed, who's borrowed the wife's car this weekend. He's parked the turbocharged Mini Clubman, and he's out there in the other family Mini. Put some stickers on it, put a number on it. He's looking after a championship. Exiting the pit lane now is the Mean Green Monster. But what a lovely bloke. Travis Condon heads out on track, fresh from Mount Panorama, fresh from Calder, fresh from Phillip Island here only a matter of weeks ago as well. He's done 2 engines in 2 months, yet he's still at the track. And Jeff Taunton, watch out for that car coming from the rear of the grid. Car number 95, Jeff Taunton, will be well and truly in the running. Had issues this morning in the LS engined Mark car out there as well. So keep an eye out for that car off the rear of the grid. There he is, Stephen Lacey, the Ladera Group, Real Dairy Australia, IRC GTSS 6 litre. Dean Cam, there he is. As I said, ZZ Top, smart dress man, Dean Cam, who is taken out the state championship and is fighting it out now for the club championship in the Groove Train Eastland Victorian Sports Sedan Championship. You'll notice all the cars with their Groove Train Eastland stickers across the top of the windscreen. A couple of them with the Precision Automotive stickers across the top of the windscreen there as well, running in the national championship. So that'd be Travis Condon, being that he's fresh from Bathurst. And when you've got to rebuild a motor in the space of a couple of weeks from the Bathurst International to getting here, and you're a absolute out-and-out grassroots privateer, that's done an amazing job. Stephen Lacey across the top of the hill. Of course, these fantastic course cars that Pyark have these days, supplied by Ineos. There it is there, the safety car coming around. Sports sedans will be rowing up for a rolling start. This is the new thing for state level sports sedans, but being universally accepted. Great to see Rand McGlurkin Sr. on the 3rd row of the grid there. There's number 12, the young fella, Chas Talbot, on the 2nd row of the grid. Huge career spanning 5 decades. Chas Talbot right in behind Ray Hislop. Dean Cam is the guy that needs to impress here in the heat today. Lots of talk up and down the pit lane about tyres, selection of incoming tyre pressures. What do you bring to Island Magic? Ordinarily, you bring your old gear so it can handle the heat, but we've added about an extra 10 degrees here today. It's going to be different tomorrow. They're lined up and we are getting ready for a start. The red lights are on, they're extinguished, and away they go. Ray Hislop gets the power down nicely. Have a look at Jeff Taunton. He splits the field in the middle of the pack there. Goes down the outside of Travis Condon. On the brakes early he goes, but Stephen Lacey leads them through in the GTSS. Dean Cam trying very hard. Ray Hislop right up in the bumper there as we're just looking now for Adam Poole. He's in the Dodo car there, so he's driving Francois Habib's car this weekend and looking really good out there at the moment. So it's 2 cars with a lot of supercar type pedigree right into the back of Stephen Lacey now. But Stephen Lacey, an absolute dedicated sports sedan racer, came here a few years ago, led the race in the 50k plate, broken upright on his old toy shop Camaro. Have a look at this. Condon goes through now on Brett Dickey. You've got to be good to do that. Brett Dickey in the Bollards Direct Honda. This turbocharged 2-litre 4-cylinder was absolutely immense at Calder at the last state round. And he is now hunting back on Travis Condon. Travis has again had to rebuild the motor in the last 2 weeks. But look at this, Jeff Taunton now. He's ranging up in behind Victoria's very own Brett Dickey. Our international racer got himself a contract to go back to the Circuit of Americas next year and is working, of course, on his pet favourite event, the Pikes Peak, where he has done so much great work over the last couple of years in the USA. 97 of John Ippolito here with Milton Seferis right in behind him. The Ippolito car, floor pan sports sedan. The Seferis car, an ex-supercar. And being chased down now by Greg Lynch. A rare mistake. Ray Hislop goes off on the driver's left there at turn 1. Years before, that would have been game over. The hard stand off the back of turn 1 has enabled him to rescue it. And Ray Hislop is absolutely loving it. He, in qualifying this morning, went the fastest he ever been in this car. And he is absolutely smashing it. Jeff Taunton now comes up beside one of Victoria's favourite sports sedans, the Corvette of Dean Cam. He opens the door. The 60 says, righto, I know you've got a fresher car and you're used to this heat being from the northern states. Dean just opens it up now. Have a look at Jeff Taunton. He's now back on the back of the legend of Chas Talbot. Really enjoying his time, Chas. Currently sitting in P4 in this race. But the Mustang ranging up behind him, or the Mustang-clad Mark Carr right up in behind. Across the top of the hill they go. A Camaro versus a Mustang. Under brakes, it is Jeff Taunton, the Queenslander, gets through on the guy from Pakenham. Chas Talbot. This is a fantastic display by Chas. Here we go here. This is Ray Hislop at turn 1. Goes wide, gathers it all up. As I said, an exceptionally rare bit of footage there. Let's burn it forevermore. We don't need to see Ray Hislop make that mistake. He very, very rarely does. You can catch Ray Hislop's story on the Grassroots Racing podcast via Speed Cafe. Have a listen to his immense motorsport story. There's Greg Lynch, the dentist from the northeastern suburbs. Down the straight now, Brett Dickey. He'll have Milton Ferris looking on the inside here. Travis Condon just not being able to outpace his home-built sports sedan versus what was a Walkinshaw-built supercar, but stays with him. Brett Dickey now under threat. The turbocharged car running a very, very conservative boost pattern here today. We've got 6 minutes left, 6.5 minutes left in this race. Stephen Lacey's got a 3.9 second lead out over Adam Poole in the Dodo Commodore. As we're just catching up with these guys. This is 7, 8 and 9 on the road. Johnny Polito just in the back of shot there, racing for the floor pan class. Looks as though Brett's just gathering it all up. Super fit, athletic racing car driver. Will be relishing the heat here today. Just easing the car in, really starting to punish the tyres in qualifying after 4 or 5 laps. Everyone was saying it was a case of getting 3-4 laps in and just bringing everything up to temperature car and tyre-wise. But as that occurred, the drivers started to overheat as well. So Travis Condon there, he had an issue in qualifying. He blew a fuse after upgrading the fuel pump size. Forgot to do a little bit of upstream work, but they've done that now. And Travis continues on. Milton Severus, nothing short of cubic inches here, but does the Honda have the puff? And it is going to be a drag race. Well done, Brett. Holds up that 5 litre down into turn number 1. Milton Severus knows his way around here. He's done many, many 50k plates, just not in the last 10 years or so. Prior to that, 15, I would suggest that Milton got under his belt. Brand McGlurkin Senior now looking into Travis Condon, and he is looking bright there as well. This is where the race is at. Milton Ferris all over the back of this magnificent white Honda from Bollards Direct. Great supporter of round 6 of the State Series with Bollards Direct. If you're looking for any Bollards, make sure you get in touch with them. Great supporters of Victorian State Series type motorsport. And around Siberia they go. Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit looking absolutely magnificent. Great to see so many fans making their way down for Island Magic. And if you are watching on the stream, thanks for joining us, but come down trackside and enjoy what Pyark put on here. 34 years of history. I would suggest probably the second longest running event at one circuit in Australian motorsport. I think the Bathurst 1000 might be about the only one that challenges that. Poole slowing now, enters the pits in the Commodore. So he comes into the pits. You might know this guy, Adam Poole, raced the white Monaro, the TRP ductwork Monaro in improved production, won a national championship, won a Victorian championship, has now stepped into the Dodo Commodore. Stephen Lacey now being caught by Jeff Taunton. Jeff Taunton off the back of the grid. This is an amazing drive. 4 minutes left in this race into P2. Ray Hislop has just been relegated. There's the ticket information. Tickets at the gate, or you can visit pyark.com.au. The koala waving the checkered flag. Looks familiar? Yeah, check out the British Racing Drivers Club logo. Fairly similar type of logo there as well. Brett Dickey now just lights the fire underneath him. And, whoa, Milton Ferris goes wide, looks for a different run, under brakes into turn 4. Brett Dickey surrenders that spot. He'll try the over and under here, but you'd think that the torque of the V8 will trouble him getting off turn 4, because here comes Rand McGlurkin Sr. as well. He is right in behind Brett Dickey now. So Milton Severus waited patiently. Rand McGlurkin Sr. looking to the inside there, using all the torque on his TA type of sports sedan. Up to Lukey Heights now on their 5th lap. Our leaders have completed their 5th lap. There goes Ray Hislop in P3. Surrendered to Jeff Taunton about a lap or so ago. And Chas Talbot will be the next one around. He's got Dean Cam in hot pursuit there as well. Here is our race leader and 2nd place. Cars look very similar. Red with gold and green with yellow as they go past Adrian Reed, who is amassing points in the unders for this weekend. This is for the lead in the race. Stephen Lacey out of New South Wales. Jeff Taunton out of QLD. And they are, for all intents and purposes, in very, very similar equipment. Oh, just looking there, Black Commodore. Was that John Ippolito? No, John Ippolito's gone round. He's completed lap number 5 as Brett Dickey now gets challenged by another V8 Corvette charging into his mirrors. Milton Severus has just managed to ease away here in the Groove Train Eastland Sports Sedans Ramada Resort here at Phillip Island. Next time you're at the island, make sure you book your accommodation at the Ramada Resort. Talbot back to Cam, 1.9 seconds to Milton Severus, 11 seconds further down the road. Our leaders now onto the straight here. 1 minute and 23 seconds left to go, so you'd have to say this and one more lap will have it cooked for these two. Stephen Lacey, he will be absolutely licking his lips to get a race win here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Super experienced racer, formidable force at Mount Panorama, and he comes out of Southern Loop. Power down to these two magnificently built cars, out of mark cars, built here in Australia. Space frame outfits, comply in every way. Oh, Rand McGlurkin Sr. in the Corvette just gives the wall a little bit of a nudge. That looks to be turn 2. Sorry, no, that's turn 12, right at the top of the circuit, up near the highway there. Belinda's Terrace around there. The QP Lubes scoreboard shows us Stephen Lacey being challenged immensely by Jeff Taunton, Ray Hislop, and then it's Chas Talbot in P4. Dean Cam is next, Milton Severus, Brett Dickey, Travis Condon, John Ippolito, and Rand McGlurkin Sr. is off the track, so that will see Greg Lynch ease his way into the top 10 in the Commodore. And there's McGlurkin Sr., and we are going to go to the flag. The National Blind Supplies Sports Sedans time certain clock has ticked over, and the checkered flag has actually been dropped. The checkered flag has been waved. Stephen Lacey will take first blood for the weekend. That will feature the 50k plate, the coveted 50k plate, tomorrow afternoon here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. It's Steve Lacey that will go into the overnight rest, and boy, won't they need a rest for tomorrow's racing. Of course, Sports Sedans will be on track at 9:50 for another preliminary race, but it'll be 1 o'clock. The feature race, the 50k plate for the Sports Sedans, will what be next on track. It was Adrian Munger we saw going slow there. Jeff Taunton into P2, Ray Hislop home in 3rd. He knows his way onto a podium here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. What a great race there for Chas Talbot. Car number 12 home in 4th place, chased down by Dean Cam and the number 66 there as well. Milton Severus brings the 96 home in 6th place. Brett Dickey charging his way to the line in the Honda. And Travis Condon in the Toyota Corolla in position number 8. John Ippolito 9th, and it will be Greg Lynch, I think. In fact, not sure where Greg has gone off the track at the moment, but not showing as a finisher. Adrian Munger was the black car that was slowing in the background, but ultimately got to the line. Adrian Reed there as well. Poole, Darden Brown, removed themselves from that race. But terrific opening race. Oh yeah, here comes the Commodore around now for Greg Lynch. Slowly making his way around. Has had power steering issues all season long. And I'll tell you what, in the heat here today, it's not the kind of race that you want to not have your power steering working. Great result there for Stephen Lacey. He's come from the northern states. He's come down here to raid for the 50k plate. He's tried a couple of times before. He started off his campaign magnificently. He will have Jeff Taunton right alongside of him. And I've got to say, there is your mechanical marvel. No, there's your physical marvel. That's your race driver marvel right there. From rear of grid to position number 2 in a short 7-lap race. Ray Hislop fought hard from the front row of the grid. Had a rare mistake down there at turn 1. I promise I'll never mention it again. And Chas Talbot, there's one to celebrate there. Car number 12 home in P4. Dean Cam just amassing those points, trying to take out the Australian Sports Sedan Championship of Victoria in car number 66. Pretty much no one in front of him actually is going to steal points from him. Milton Severus next, Brett Dickey 7, Travis Condon, John Ippolito. They're the ones fighting out for the floor pan class. So Travis has beaten John home there with Greg Lynch in position number 10. Fastest lap, 1:31.63 for Jeff Taunton. Aidan Munger, then Adrian Reid round out our finishes. Doing it all for the Groove Train Eastland, QP Lubes and National Blind Supplies. We look forward to the first race tomorrow for the sports sedans, as I mentioned, at 9:50. But the 50k plate is the one you need to get yourself trackside for at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We've got plenty more racing coming at you right throughout today for the Island Magic event. Of course, up next is Formula Bs. Then we'll have sports cars, improved production, Formula Ford, historic touring cars, sports cars, and then we've got Formula Open, the fastest wings and slicks cars in the country at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be back in just a couple of moments with Formula B.
Formula V action not too far away here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. There is one part of the field sitting in the marshalling area, ready to roll down the pit lane and take to the track. What a great turnout they had last year. 37 cars started the weekend and 34 finished under their own power. What a fantastic effort that was. Very similar looking field this weekend with 32 starting. Unfortunately, we have lost one car early on in proceedings. The defending Maury Fordham Trophy winner from last year, Daniel Reynolds, who's also the national champion from 2024, unfortunately has had a gearbox failure and has opted to sit out the rest of the weekend. So that gets us down to 31 cars. But let's have a look at how they will line up for the first race of the weekend in Formula V. It's Michael Kinsella, who was fifth across the line in a five-car finish last year. He is on pole position. Opposite him is going to be Curtis Porter in the 67 from Queensland. Reef McCarthy starting in third place. You might have heard of him before, but he's been sitting out the last 12 months since Island Magic last year on a self-imposed sabbatical from racing, but it's great to have him back. And he's going to be sitting alongside Lee Partridge on the second row of the grid, the Working Drones Australia number 28. Andre Curran starting in fifth. Alongside him is Alex McDonald, who's also down from Queensland, another one of the competitors that was here last year. Ash Quiddington starting out of seventh place, the Oasis Building Group number 12. He is the championship leader in the Formula V Club Championship coming into the round. It's a very tight, close battle between himself and Lee Partridge coming into the weekend. Just 31 points between them and it all to play for. Brock Hamilton, who's also out of the same stable as the Quiddington machine is, out of position number 8. So the two Silver Fox Racing Sabres are going to start alongside each other on row 4. Ash Clifford, he'll start out of position number 9. He's also out of that same stable, with the Star Res branding on the side of the number 17. Darren Williams from New South Wales in the number 79, starting in 10th. Simon Pace will be out of 11th and Rocco Spinley out of 12th. Rocco had a fantastic run here earlier on in the year at the state meeting in June, so looking forward to seeing what he can do with some of the more seasoned veterans in the field here this weekend. Malachi Windsor is the first of the Acura Motorsport cars on the grid. He is out of 13th. Next to him is Aaron Pace. Darren Power and Matthew Harriott will be behind them in 15th and 16th. Shane Purvis in the Joust Raceway number 6 will be 17th. Rod Lisson is the highest placed of the Western Australian competitors in the Sabre 02, starting out of 18th, ahead of Cameron Bell and Edward McFall. We continue over and we have a look at the 21st place on the grid, which goes to the Mick Fisher in the Builders Crane Hire Jacer. Alongside him is Phil Gardner. Adam Prewer is the sole Tasmanian in the field this weekend, and he's normally in a little bit of different machinery in his home state, but he's aboard a 1600 machine prepared by Beecham Racing this weekend out of 23rd, and Charlie Richardson from Bendigo in 24th. And rounding out the rest of the field, we have Michael Lloyd from Western Australia in 25th. The returning Rob Vile out of 26. Great to have Rob back as well. Kathy Lisson in 27th. Xavier Babbage Hockey in 28th. And as we go over the page, we end up with the 1200s. So David Campbell, Callum Lamont and Stephen Butcher are the 3 1200 class cars here this weekend. Good to have a smattering of the 1200s here. Not very common in Victoria these days, but they do exist mostly in the historic part of Formula V racing, which does have a very strong following. We do tend to see some of the historic cars turn up at Island Magic every now and again. We do see them with their own series that they run at various circuits, but always good to have the historical engines still kicking around the place in a couple of different states. They're just not so prevalent here in Victoria. Now, there's 3 things to remember with Formula V this weekend. There are 3 things to be decided. The first and foremost is the Victorian Formula V Club Championship, which is in its final round, which I alluded to a few minutes ago. Just 31 points between the leader, Ash Quiddington, and second-placed Lee Partridge. So that one will be decided here this weekend. Behind them in third place in the club championship, it's Andre Curran, but he's too far back to challenge for the win. It would need to go horribly wrong for him to, for the two league competitors, for him to even have a chance at overhauling them for the club championship. Ash Clifford in fourth place and Malachi Windsor in fifth. So that's the top 5 of the club championship that's being decided this weekend. The Formula V Australian Series, this is the 4th round of their series for season 2024. They had rounds at Morgan Park in Queensland in June, Collie Motorplex in September. A couple of weeks ago, they were up at One Raceway, which affectionately was known as Wakefield Park, and they're now here at Island Magic for the 2nd year running. So the way that series works is everybody can contest as many rounds as they like, but you do drop your worst round, even if it is a 0-point scoring round and you don't turn up. That's just about deciding places in the 1600 Championship, because Daniel Reynolds, who is not taking part this weekend, has already done enough to secure the National Australian Series, so he'll be permitted to run the number 1 next year in the Formula V Australian Series. Michael Kinsella is currently 4th in the standings, but with no Dylan Thomas and no Dave Casely here this weekend, he can make a few inroads and might be able to get up to position 2 in the standings. Matthew Harriott and Alex McDonald and Rod Lisson and Kathy Lisson, they're all here this weekend, so they can potentially make some points gains as well. There is, all 3 positions are up for grabs in the 1200, so currently the 3 drivers here this weekend, Callum Lamont, Stephen Butcher and David Campbell, they are the 3 cars that are on track. They are the top 3 in the 1200 series, so between the 3 of them, they will be battling it out for the 1200 honours. At this stage, Lamont has the high ground there, leading by, just doing the math here, 55 points with a handful of good results. And Stephen Butcher's already dropped a 0-point scoring round. So whatever he scores from this weekend will go onto his points tally. And then, of course, the big important thing at the end of the weekend is the Maury Fordham Trophy, or affectionately known as the Phillip Island Formula V Trophy. It was a sensational race last year. Any one of about half a dozen drivers could win it. It ended up being a 5-car battle that crossed the line within about a 1/10 and a half of each other. And after charging from the back of the grid following a non-finish in the second race, Reef McCarthy almost stole the chocolates at the end of the day, but it did go to Daniel Reynolds, who secured his 2nd Maury Fordham Trophy 12 years after the first. But with him, unfortunately, not taking to the grid to defend that championship title this year, he guaranteed to get a different name on the Formula V Trophy in season 2024. It might be a similar name to someone who's won it before, but we will have to wait until Sunday afternoon to find out who takes home that bit of silverware. Just waiting for the Formula V cars to navigate the rest of the circuit and form up on the grid. Probably the biggest grid of the weekend. I think the 2nd highest grid in terms of numbers would be improved production. But 32 Formula V cars from all across the country, 6 states represented, and including the ACT, which of course is a territory, which is from where Daniel Reynolds is from. But good to see a good spread of cars all the way from Western Australia, right across the bottom of South Australia into Victoria, then all the way up the east coast as well. Queensland and New South Wales represented. And even though the car hasn't made the trip from Tasmania, Adam Prue, of course, in a locally prepared Sabre 02 representing Tasmania. So great to have a huge contingent of drivers from all across the country putting on a good show about what Formula V racing is all about. Just passing the recovery vehicles that are sitting at the pit entrance there, gratefully and graciously provided by Ineos Grenadier to the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club. They're on the outside of the circuit, so get over and see them. They've got a nice little display there of one of their cars in the trailer. They're actually giving away some free T-shirts, I believe, as well. So go over there and introduce yourself to them and see what they do. It's great to have them supporting the Phillip Island Auto Racing Club with their new recovery vehicles this year. Certainly got their work cut out for them. They would have towed quite a lot of Formula V cars out of gravel traps and things with all the old equipment from back in the day. It's good to have a bit of more of a modern take, some more powerful machinery for the circuit, especially because at times when it rains here, this place does get quite wet underfoot offline, and it can become quite difficult to pull cars out. So having some four-wheel drive power certainly helps quickly and efficiently complete a lot of those recovery efforts. So coming into position now, preliminary one for Formula V, thanks to Specco and VHT, and it's, I guess, a timely reminder that 12 months ago we unfortunately lost Brian Sambo Sampson, who was is instrumental in setting up Specco Thomas and VHT, and has been a long-time sponsor of Formula V, and we paid tribute last year to all the efforts that they had given Formula V over the years here at Island Magic and continue to do so. So 12 months on, we remember Brian Sambo Sampson as we get set with a green flag not too far away at the back of this 31-car field. We've got a car smoking there in the middle of the pack. Looks like Ash Clifford has a little bit of either some too hot brakes, or that's just the breeze blowing the exhaust smoke back down the front straight. There's the green flag. We're set for 14 minutes plus one lap of fast, furious Formula V sprint racing action, and we are underway for the first time with Formula V this weekend, and a slow start off of P2 for Curtis Porter in the number 67. The opposite Lock Sabre 02 did not get away well from the front row of the grid. He looked like he maybe missed the gear change from first to second gear. He's been swallowed up by about 5 to 6 cars as they pour into turn one for the first time. Looks like Andre Curran's just on the outside of him as they head into Southern Loop. He's gone back to about 6th place at the moment for Porter, and Kinsella away relatively well and now comfortably leads out of Southern Loop. McCarthy hot on his heels with Lee Partridge in behind. Then comes the 51 machine there of Alex McDonald in 4th place, and hot on his tails here comes Porter and the number 12 machine of Ash Quiddington looking to the left, and one car looking to the right, and just couldn't find a way past at Miller Corner as the field pours in. Very difficult on the opening lap here with such a big field. Have to be patient with cars running 2 and 3 wide at parts of this narrow piece of paradise down here beside the shores of Bass Strait. Number 41 machine there, heading up the hill out of Siberia for the first time. A bit further down the field as we go back to the front of the pack. It looks like there's about 7 cars or so in this battle group, already starting to try and put a little bit of distance between the next group of cars. Because they're fanned out so close to each other and wheel-to-wheel contact, they have to leave a little bit of room. That slows everybody up. It means that the remainder of the field is still able to keep in touch for a minute, and this big long train of Formula V cars is now coming around Belinda's Terrace and now onto the final corner of the circuit. There's Lee Partridge tucked in to 3rd place there, right behind Kinsella, who himself has now dropped behind Reef McCarthy. Yet another livery on board the Working Drones Australia number 28. This one a tribute to the Honda Racing Corporation colours, synonymous with motorcycle Grand Prix racing that's graced this circuit many times before. We've seen all sorts of various liveries out of the Lee Partridge Racing stable this year, and this one for him is a personal favourite. I think the one for me that sort of struck the chord the most was the Williams Rothmans tribute livery that we saw back at Sandown earlier in the year. Very similar to the colours that Ayrton Senna ran back in the day. But we don't know what he's going to do when it comes to liveries for next year. I think he'd probably be one to just keep it and stick with it for the entire year. But I commend his commitment towards car preparedness as he goes through to position number 2 there. Looks like 3rd place has now been filled by the number 12, which is his championship rival in things here as well, in Ash Quiddington. So he's moved up 4 spots from where he started. So that's a good result, and all he needs to do is just finish behind Partridge or a couple of spots within earshot of Partridge across the weekend, and the 2024 Formula V Club Championship title will be his. So it's a no-risk scenario for the number 12, and right now taking absolutely no risk, tucked in quite nicely behind the 28 and just doing what he needs to do. He'll be wanting the race wins, no doubt, but he won't throw the kitchen sink at it without making any mistakes. It'll be clean, it'll be hard, and it'll be fair. Don't forget, you can still get to the track here if you're watching at home. It might be an absolute scorcher here today at Phillip Island, but the weather tomorrow is definitely looking a little bit more settled and a little bit cooler. There might be the threat of rain as well, so it could spice up some of the action across all the categories. So if you haven't bought your tickets, don't despair. They are at the gate. You can just rock up to the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, pay the small amount of money that you're going to have to part with out of the wallet, and you can join the action trackside like a lot of drivers' families are here today, and like a lot of all the spectators that are here today are as well, although they are confined to their cars because it is quite an air-conditioned place to be, one says to me. Here we go, Andre Kieran now looking around the outside of Alex McDonald at Southern Loop. There's a couple of different lines you can take here, but for Andre, he has to stay a little bit wide. That's actually opened up the door potentially for the number 79 machine of Darren Williams, who had a little bit of a look exiting the second turn on the circuit. There wasn't any pathway for him to make it through there, so he's just got to be content with sitting behind the Victorian and the Queenslander for the moment. And for Darren, that's put him into 8th place, so pretty close to where he started things. He's keeping an eye on the lap times here as well, because at the moment it's Whittington out in front, fastest lap of the race at a 1 minute 51.9. The lap record is coincidentally held by his brother, Mitch Whittington. And it's a 1 minute 51.39. Now, there were 2 drivers in qualifying that went underneath that lap record time, but of course it doesn't count in qualifying. It only counts in the race trim. And he is going, or both those drivers were Michael Kinsella and Curtis Porter. So they want to grab a lap record that's been standing for the better part of 11 years. They're going to have to pull it off in race trim. It might not happen today because, of course, it is getting quite warm here, but it possibly could fall tomorrow if weather conditions are in the sweet spot for these Formula Vs. So this completes lap number 3. Just taking a look at the timing screen here, there's a couple of drivers that have registered a couple less laps than ideally they should have. We might actually be having a few timing glitches at the moment. But this is lap 3 that's completed. Lap 4 now underway. And out in front, Michael Kinsella is starting to make a break for it here. And Partridge doing his best to go with him. But then it's the likes of Porter, McCarthy and Whittington who are just trying to go with Partridge here. Kinsella's got a handy margin at the moment. Looks like it's around about a second. And the further he can get up the road, he gets out of the, it still prevents the drivers behind from getting in the tow and then being able to claw their way right up to the back of him. The more that this little battle pack that we're watching on screen here goes on between Partridge and Whittington and Porter and McCarthy, it's allowing the opportunity for the number 35 of Kinsella to just quietly edge away out in front. And I think with some of the challenges that he was looking at after qualifying, that will definitely put a bit of a smile on his face. Oh, we've got Rod Lisson. Looks like he's had some sort of a failure here. He's gone onto the recovery road, or the return road rather, at turn number 4 and heading for the pits. So the highest placed starting driver from Western Australia, unfortunately, out of this one. The Litech System Sabre is out of business after 3 and a few laps in race number 1. Also potentially looking at that David Campbell may have come into to pit lane as well. He was the fastest qualifier in the 1200s. So not a great situation for him when it comes to the Formula V Australian Series points. That leaves just Stephen Butcher and Callum Lamont out there on track, pretty much running nose to tail at the moment. This is a nice shot from turn number 12. All the cars coming through. Oh, there's a car coming into pit lane there with a nose cone sort of half hanging off as well. I couldn't quite catch the car number, one of the red cars that's in there. And coming into pit lane, we still haven't got a registered across the timing stripe yet of which car that is. We'll let you know as soon as we find out. There goes Shane Purvis running all on his own. It's turn number 1. And then this other battle pack that we often don't get a chance to take a look at, just how diverse and how many cars there are in this field. So Rob Vile leading this little group of cars into turn number 2. Behind him, it's the number 4 machine of Cameron Bell, which of course we've mentioned a few times is the ex-Heath Collinson championship winning car from a couple of years. Then in behind there, you've got Charlie Richardson with Mick Fisher right on her tail. Then tucked in there, Adam Prewer, that's the number 25 machine the man that comes from Tasmania. You've got Phil Gardner in there in the number 73, and at the very back of that group, I'm just looking to see, I believe that might have been possibly one of the yellow cars. There might have been the number 9 there, I think, or it might have been the number 5 potentially of Michael Lloyd as they're coming round Siberia. We've got word that we're getting 2 laps to go here. The car that did come into the lane was indeed one of the red cars. Edward McFall, the number 29 machine out of Queensland, was the car just at the top of the shot a few minutes ago with the nose cone partially hanging off. As we switch our attention back to the lead group of cars. The last lap board is being shown, so one more tour to go. And Kinsella has got a healthy break here. This race is pretty much his to lose. That's an eternity at the moment in Formula V. There's at least half a dozen grid rows there between the leader of the race and the next group of cars battling from second all the way through to 5th place. There goes the leader, Kinsella. So he sets sail for home. This battle for the second and third positions on the rostrum are getting very, very close for comfort. We've got some smoke coming out of one of the cars that's just behind this group, heading down into turn number 1. Can't quite see who that is. It's pulled off into the gravel trap, but thankfully they are out of harm's way. So Porter leads this little group with Ash Whittington in third, then Reef McCarthy, and here comes Lee Partridge swinging to the inside round the very fast Stoner corner. And can he go the long way here around Quiddington? Can he go the long way around Quiddington? I think he certainly can. Quiddington's going to have to leave him a little bit of room here, and he does. Very hard, very fair. Made him earn that pass going the long way, grabbing 2 cars in 2 corners, Partridge. He pushes himself back up to 3rd place. But I'll tell you what, Quiddington right on the gearbox, almost touching the rear end of the number 28 as they exited Siberia. And now they're going to run side by side through turn 7. Up past the corner affectionately known as Hayshed. The number 12 swings back to the inside as they go up over Lukey Heights. So Partridge concedes a little bit of ground here. Has to tuck back in. Does he send it down the inside? No, he doesn't. He has a bit of a think about it, but there's not quite enough room at the inn to make that passing move stick. So this group sets sail for the last couple of corners. The leader is clear. Kinsella, who finished 5th in last year's title race for the Maury Fordham Trophy, is going to start proceedings off here at Island Magic with a comfortable victory, cruising to the line here with a wonderful exhibition of driving. He cleared away from that group very, very early on. Second across the line is going to be Curtis Porter, who outlasts, I think it was Ash Quiddington, who just managed to snaffle 3rd place. Unfortunately, the timing for us is not going to truly reveal who that was. It was a very close finish in the end there, but I think it may have been Quiddington just potentially ahead of McCarthy and Partridge. A couple of cars further back in the field, looks like Mick Fisher has been passed by Phil Gardner, and these two are going to run side by side through the last sequence of corners down to the start-finish line. Mick looks like he might just have the edge here, having got underneath Phil at the last second. Phil thinks about it, but he's a little bit too late to throw one across the start-finish line. So there's number 5 of Michael Lloyd. That was the other car in that battle group a bit further down the order. He had a bit of an excursion there, looks like down at turn number 2. So that was one car that had some problems. There's the car that pulled up on the other side there. That, to me, looks like it might be, hard to tell from this angle, it might actually be Brock Hamilton, I think, potentially out of the stable. No, it's the number 9 machine that has come to a halt there. That's actually Aaron Pace. Very similar colour scheme, a bit difficult to tell from a distance. That angle tells a bit more of the story. So that's the car that had a little bit of or a fairly decent amount of smoke coming out of the rear, heading down the front straight at the beginning of the final lap. So that's why he's come to a stop there. The Ineos Grenadiers will be out to him and will tow him back in. That was the first race of Formula V for the Island Magic 2024 edition. And a short break here in Central Commentary, because coming up on the other side of this, it'll be the first 25-minute hit out for the sports cars. They've, of course, got 2 races today, one to come up next and one to come up at just before 3:30. And then tomorrow they've got a pair of races as well. Actually, I think they've got a 1 hour race, I believe. Sorry, excuse me, a 1 hour race later on tomorrow afternoon. So sports cars with Emma Dean and Matt Dunlop on the other side of this, and we'll take a short break and be back shortly.
It is a beautiful day here at Phillip Island. If you're trackside, get yourself as much shade as you possibly can. Slip, slop, slap, because it is toasty today and the sun bites here harder than just about anywhere else in the state, I reckon. I'm very susceptible to sunburns myself here, so I'm keeping sun smart. Hope you all are, and I hope you're ready for the start of sports car racing here. It is the production sports car racing here. The Klaus Kenny Intellex Victorian Sports Cars Race 1 here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit as part of this beautiful, glorious, fantastic Island Magic weekend. 25 minutes of sports cars action coming up. My name is Matt Dunlop, and joining me in the comments box is Emma Dean. Emma, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I am. I reckon we could do a little bit of hot box yoga up here, Matt. It's boiling.
It
I almost swore on air.
a greenhouse up here. The aircon is located quite close to the floor, so when we're not on air, we are basically horizontal on the carpet here, trying to cool down as much as we can. But this action's about to heat everything up, whether we like it or not, I think, and we definitely do like it because these things are going to be glorious to watch flying around here.
Absolutely. 31 degrees at the moment. Thankfully, the UV's not too high, so the tyres should be nice and sticky and wide. But I think there's probably 3 cars out there with a bit of aircon, and the rest of them have airflow. And after about 8 laps, that will be like sitting in front of a heater.
I was about to ask, if you don't have a cool suit or aircon, 31 outside, what would that translate to in the cabin, do you think?
Well, I have put a thermometer inside the cars after they've come back from an hour race, and it can get up to 67 degrees.
Oh.
So can you imagine with your merino wool thermal suit on and your balaclava and your gloves and your merino wool socks and your shoes? Yeah, toasty.
There's a reason I'm not complaining too much about the temperature up here, and that is why, because these drivers are putting themselves through the ringer, basically saunas on 4 wheels to put this action together for us, and we cannot thank them enough. And it's going to be fantastic. There's a lot of great names in this field, and it's going to be an awesome race. These geese that we see on screen are pumped for it as well. There wouldn't be a race at Phillip Island without the Cape Barron locals making an appearance.
I know. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, these geese are so cool and calm when a race car is like 12 inches from them. It's bizarre. But yeah, we've got a great section of drivers today, or this weekend, I should say, Matt, and so many varied backgrounds in driving. We've got the Audi LMS Evo 2 out there from Michael Kokonos. Courtney Prince is in the car, co-driving with him. We've also got a heap of 997s, 991 Cup cars. We've got a Lambo Gallardo out there, a couple of Mark cars. So really, really great racing to watch. I think we're going to have a car everywhere on track all weekend.
Green flag has waved. We'll get a formation lap, and then we will get a rolling start here in the sports cars in the first of 2 races today. So we've got the A race and the B race, as some of these cars have a co-driver set up, as you mentioned there. So the A drivers will be running in this race. The B drivers will be running in the next race, and all of those, and that's only about 9 or so cars which have co-drivers. The rest are all solo efforts, so it'll be the same driver tackling the whole weekend's action.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough with the Island Magic weekend that we've got a 1 hour race tomorrow. So 2 25s today and a 1 hour tomorrow. So it's an hour and 50 of racing all weekend, which is a lot. So for a lot of these drivers, they can do a 25, 30, 40 minute race, no dramas. But an hour race in these conditions can be really taxing, and a nice changeover is good. Plus, we've got different categories going along in this race as well. So the Audi Evo 2 is in its own category, and we'll have a timing handicap for the changeover tomorrow in the pit stop when the drivers change over. The Mark cars will also have a handicap, and so will the sports cars and the GT4s, just to make it a little bit even and a little bit more exciting racing.
So it'll certainly throw things a little bit up in the air, and we'll do our best to keep you abreast of all the penalties and the timing adjustments.
And drivers.
And the driver changes tomorrow for the main race. But luckily, we've got a couple of short 25-minute sprints. Nice and simple. Put your foot down first across the line, at the end of it wins sort of deal. And it's the sort of stuff that we've seen all throughout Island Magic.
Just on camera now, we've got this beautiful black and martini racing livery of Sven Burkhardt's 997 GT3 Cup S. Beautiful car. Love to see it out on the track. It's got a new livery, which I'm absolutely loving. Looks gorgeous.
There's a lot of Porsches out here in the field at the moment. We'd love to see. It's really well presented. I caught it in the garage when I was walking past earlier, and it was beautiful. Let's quickly run through the starting lineup as much as we can for this one as they come around, because it will be a rolling start. Pole position in the number 8 will be Courtney Prince driving that car alongside Steve Lacey, who won the Sport Sedan race earlier today. Back out doing double duty in the number 78 Mark Mustang. Behind them, it will be the number 111 of Grant Donaldson, who's lining up alongside Benjamin Schutz in the Sin R1, back on track for the first time since it had a pretty hefty stack at Bathurst. That's been a regular feature of sports car outings in State Series in the past. It's great to see it back here again. Behind them, we have Jake Donaldson in the 303, next to Tim Wolf, whose car is actually being driven in this race, the number 66, by Matt Slavin, a Victorian.
Here we go, Matt.
So that's just the top 3 rows. There's a lot more cars to get through, and we'll touch on them as the race progresses, but all these drivers are coasting around turn 12 now. The Ineos Grenadier safety car has peeled into the pit lane here, and we're set to go. We're going to be waiting for a green flag and those reds to go out. Who's going to get the jump and who's going to get the run down to turn 1? The tension is building. This is going to be fantastic, folks. Take a look out the window, because we are underway now. And feel the thunder as they roll past the start-finish line. It's a great start for Courtney. It's not a great start for Courtney Prince. She's actually bogged it down a little bit. Steve Lacey gets a great jump. Ben Schutz from 4th finds his way to 2nd. He'll be stoked with that, having that first race outing in that Sin R1 for quite some time. So he'll be very happy to slot in front of the number 8 there. So Courtney Prince recovers to 3rd, ahead of the number 111 car of Grant Donaldson.
God, she's all over his mirrors though. Ben Schutz was going to have to do a lot to keep defending Courtney, because not sure what happened there, whether she missed a gear or whether she just, not sure whether she got bunched in, but she's going to get in front of Ben. Ben's going to have to do some good work.
Ben's already trying to make that Sin as wide as possible, but he's letting Courtney just go right up the inside there at Honda. So that will be 2nd position for Courtney Prince, making her way back up there. We are live streaming on our YouTube channel, but for Facebook viewers, take a look at blendline.tv/live as well. It's great to have you on board wherever you're watching around Australia and indeed the world. Can't thank you enough for joining in, and you can strap yourselves in for some great sports car action here as they stream across the top of the hill. So this is the battle for 4th position here. Grant Donaldson just holding off the number, I believe that's a 66 behind him, currently being piloted by Matt Slavin.
And we've got Daniel Quimby, the 16-year-old, desperately trying to hold off Andy Hall there in the Cup car. Oh, Andy's done an early dive. Oh, he's just made that through. Nice one. So Daniel Quimby is the 16-year-old. He won Formula 4 in America last year, and he's got sponsorship to do Formula 3 in America next year, and he's going to be doing sprint. So he's going to be between America and Melbourne all year next year. Amazing for a 16-year-old. Here they come down the straight.
Unbelievable stuff. They cross the stripe for the first time in anger, and the order is The number 78 of Stephen Lacey leading the way. Courtney Prince has pulled that gap right back in that rapid number 8 R8 Evo 2. We're just waiting for timing to update on our end as well as the rest of the field pours through. There's so much variety of cars here. Anywhere you look, there's a number of beautiful Porsche flat sixes, a few V10s, a lot of V8s around here. It's just for a racing fan in general, not even a sports car fan, a racing fan in general, just seeing these cars getting thrashed around is heaven.
Well, actually seeing an S, like we see on screen, which is Sven Burkhart's from Callis County Intellects Lawyers. Sven is a lawyer full-time. I asked him what he feels like when he gets in the car and it's absolute flow state. He said, this is where I calm down, this is where I chill out. But to be actually be able to see, sorry, I'm tongue-tied because I'm too excited about it, a 997.2 Cup S on the track being used. These are museum pieces now that people are trying to preserve and keep in mint condition, and they should be out here. They love this stuff. Porsches love being raced, the Mark cars love being raced, they should not be locked away.
Exactly right, and we love to see them turning wheels out here in anger. I'd love to see this number 95 as well because it was in bits in the pit paddock earlier today.
I did see some bolts.
Missed qualifying completely. They were working on the differential for that one, or something along in the rear end, trying to figure out what was going on there. But they would have missed qualifying, so it was a rear of grid start from the number 595 of Jeff Taunton. Got out there in the sports car race. There's a lot of smoke on the screen there. We'll have to see who that's coming from. It may be Ben Schutz, but we'll keep an eye on that one as that progresses. You can see it pluming from the back of the Sin R1 as it crosses the stripe up ahead. That is not ideal for Ben Schutz. That car had a lot of pace, but he's not looking in a good spot. I hope he's not dropping oil for the sake of keeping this race running.
True.
And hopefully there's not a whole lot that's actually gone wrong with that car, but we'll see how it pans out as the race continues.
That will be heartbreaking. The team, Ben Schutz and his dad, have done such a great job to pull that car back from being an almost write-off at Bathurst. I did speak to Ben today. They're still figuring some things out. He thought he was a bit low on pace, but that could be yet another issue that we weren't aware of.
He's pulled to the inside. He's basically, that looks to be almost race done there. So he may very well pull into the escape road as he rounds turn 3 here. What a shame for Ben Schutz in the Sin R1. He's just come off of, it certainly hasn't, even though the car hasn't been racing a whole lot, he is going to still keep it out there.
He's limping it.
He's limping it home at this stage. Even though the Sin R1 hasn't been getting much track action, Ben Schutz certainly has a full campaign in Fanatec GT World Challenge.
In the Mercedes. He's been doing well. I mean, he had a bit of an off here at Phillip Island, which was horrible to see. But yeah, he's back racing, which he should be. Ben is a consummate professional, fantastic race car driver, and absolutely dominated state series in this production sports car category for a long time. In fact, he would usually lead by a lap, if not a lap and a half, over Andy and Jamie Lovett. So yeah, it's sad to see him retire so early. If he is actually retiring, I think he's trying to limp it all the way back.
Now, that number 95 car of Jeff Taunton started at the rear of the grid. It's all over the back of the 111 now. It is miles ahead of where it was. That's for the battle for third position. What a fantastic run it's been so far for Jeff Taunton. He'll be stoked with that.
I know, and how much racing is he doing this weekend? He's come from, what was he in before?
He was racing that same car. He finished second in the sports sedans earlier today as well.
Obviously, he's doing some testing at Island Magic.
Getting some very well-needed hours in for that number 95 car. And it's looking rapid, sounding fantastic as well. That's one of the things I love about those Mark cars so much, is they sound glorious when they
Matt,
fly past.
I got to tell you, I'm just looking at the timing. Courtney Prince has pulled a 1:28.69. It's 31 degrees outside, and she's pulled a 1:28.
Absolutely rapid. The air is so warm. It's not really suiting the temperatures of these cars, and Ben Schutz has come to the pit lane, unfortunately. We can just see him rolling down. What a shame for Schutz there. Hopefully he'll be able to get that one back up and running for the rest of the weekend, but in the meantime, we've got plenty of action still happening out on the tarmac, including a battle here between Jeff Taunton and that's the 130 of Andy Hall, making his way around the outside on the exit of Honda, so I'm not sure if Taunton's had a moment there.
Not sure, couldn't see it. I don't know if we'll get a replay. Two of them are very experienced drivers, been around a long time. Andy will give room, but not too much. He won't give you the competitive edge, and Jeff's the same. They're not giving you any gifts.
I think he may have, because he was all over the back of that 111 car we see there, and he's fallen right off the pace. We see a couple of Porsche 911 cycle through behind there, and he's fallen back 3 spots, has the number 95, and now he's all over the back of Andy Hall. He's going to be sharing that car with a very familiar name to a lot of you in motorsport. Ex-V8 supercar driver Rodney Forbes will be jumping in that one later today.
Yeah, I did ask Rodney what his best achievement was in motorsport, and he said leaving V8. I don't know why I didn't ask any more questions, but anyway, yeah, he's happy to be in the Cup car this weekend. I absolutely knew Jeff Taunton would get it over him on the straight.
So let's have a look here. This is a replay of Honda Corner. This might give some... There we go. So he has rotated the car onto the inside of Honda there. No harm, no foul, except for his position on track. And that's why he was just recovering there to get back on track behind the 130.
And he did really well to slow there and not have a collision. So he was on a roll and he did really, really well there. Speaking to Andy earlier, he said he was a little bit off pace and feeling a little bit not 100% in the car. So, I mean, this heat's not going to do anyone any favours. I don't know whether he meant that he wasn't feeling well or whether he just didn't know where he was losing pace.
Pressure's on now as well. He's got mirrors full of Daniel Quimby, the 16-year-old from New South Wales. He's gone right up the inside, makes that move look easy, but he is feeding that wheel as much as possible, using all of the runoff and a little bit more to hold that on. They're going to go side by side, but Daniel Quimby's going to hold that as they come through the left-hander at Siberia.
What a great battle. We're watching a 997.2 and a 991.2 Cup car battling it out. The 997s, you really got to wrestle, Matt. You really, really, really have to choke those things to get them in and out the corners. And the 991's a little bit easier, but Porsches in general, it's a good battle in and outside the car.
It certainly is. And it's great to see, like when you see a driver like Daniel Quimby, who has not really had a whole lot of running in this car lately, especially because he's been jetting overseas, doing a lot of running in US.
He was in LA 2 days ago.
In 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And now to jump in this car and just be lighting the place up, it's awesome to see. It's such a great young talent behind the wheel of that car.
Bulletproof when you're 16 though, Matt. His dad's struggling with the jet lag at the moment.
Certainly no signs of jet lag in that machine there. The number 70 machine being driven by Daniel Quimby. He's partnering with Andrew Smith, who's going to be jumping in for the second race later today, and they'll be sharing the car for the 1 hour excursion tomorrow. Can't wait for that one, but this sprint race is already putting on some great action so far. Courtney Prince is out the front, nowhere to be touched at the moment, still leading this race by a long shot. Behind them, we've got a little bit of a battle here. So Quimby has started pulling a little bit of a gap here to Andy Hall, and I don't think Andy Hall's, he's trying his best to hang on to the back of that number 70, 911 in front of him, but Daniel Quimby's just brilliant in that car.
I was having a chat to him earlier in the pits, and I said, Daniel, the lines that you're pulling coming out of turn 12, and you're using all of that ripple strip in the 997, is that unnerving? And he went, I didn't notice.
Especially after those who saw the sports car race earlier before, you see what happens if you get a little bit too far out on that curbing on the exit of 12. Rand McClurkin Sr. touched it in his Corvette and speared off into the gravel as we see a battle here. That's the number 447 of Sunil Vora, who some of you will probably know as the CEO of Motorsport Australia, getting his hands behind the wheel once again and getting stuck in. Great to see some action from him.
Absolutely, game getting out there. Sunil hasn't had much race experience in the last little while. He gets in and gets out. He's far too busy to be out here every other weekend. But I asked him how he was feeling about it before. He said, look, I'm just bringing it home and I'm bringing myself home and I just want to get out there and have the experience. So I do need to tell you guys watching that there is a race going on, a championship race going on here for the production sports cars that Andy Hall is the president of that category. So between him and Tim Wolf, this weekend we could have some point swapping and maybe a championship being not robbed, but taken out of Andy Hall's hands. But then we've got a heap of other guys that have come in for Island Magic specifically. So they're not racing for a championship. They're not racing for points. So there's no reason to do any risky moves or take any risky dives and just bring the car home and see what you can do and have a great weekend.
Looks like this battle has caught back up to the number 447 here. So that's Stephen Sluger in the number 68, just ahead of, I believe that's the 67 of Tim Leithhead, currently driving that Mark. That is the 34 as the other Mark Focus, and that is being steered by Jonathan Crossing, the Queenslander, right now. So it's a really tight battle here as Stephen Sluger, the Victorian in that Porsche 991.1 GT3 Cup car, has taken the lead of this battle. Great scrapping all the way up and down. And as we alluded to earlier, we've got all different, classes of sports cars in this race, different categories, whatnot, but they can still get out there, duke it up, throw elbows, and have a great race, even though they're not necessarily all evenly matched on pace.
Well, look, you can see yourself between Quimby and Hall that you can have a 997 go toe-to-toe with a 991 Cup car quite easily. The movable factor in the car is the driver. And we've got quite a varied range of skill sets and experience in the drivers this weekend. Michael Kokonos, for example, in the LMS that he's sharing with Courtney Prince this weekend, has done Fanatec GT, won the Trophy Series in 2022, but has had all of 4 years racing experience. Courtney's come up through karts, then Formula 4, and she's done a bit of the Pointer-Dixon Carrera Cup?
Carrera Cup, yes.
Yeah. So, we've got a real mix of great young stars, older guys. Sven Burkhardt has been racing for 27 years.
And that's what we love about events like this. It's not just like races like this production sports car, but Island Magic in general. You can get all sorts of drivers from all walks of life at different stages in their careers, all out on track, battling it out with each other, and it's just great to see. And yeah, Courtney Prince, as you mentioned, like, she is still very young, but I remember seeing her, quite a few years ago, still going through Victorian State Formula Ford as well, so she's been around the traps for quite some time. Very, very fast driver, and it's so good to have her gracing the track so we can enjoy the show that she's putting on. I'm just taking a look out the window. She's absolutely miles ahead of the rest of the competition at this stage. Yeah. So we go back to this battle here between Vora and the number 34 of Jonathan Crossing in that Mark focus behind him, trying to get as much of a draft as possible. The wind isn't blowing too much here at Phillip Island, so the slipstream isn't as potent as it normally is, as we see him going up the inside there of Vora through 3. Right up ahead of them, the number 68 of Steven Sluger has just pulled miles ahead. He's got Daylight, second and third in between them in that battle there. So that number 68 machine is flying ahead.
Yeah, there is the wind won't be a factor, but the turbulence wash will be, which is a bunch of hot air being blown onto your car when you're either tailing someone or passing someone. And that can slow you down because it's actually like a big puff of hot smoke coming into the car, and the engine goes, oh, what is that? So it does take it back a little bit, makes it a little bit slower, and you want clear air, you want clean air, you don't want anyone around you or in front of you, and you get faster and faster and faster. But for those watching, you might be wondering why the Mark cars are giving the Porsches a run for their money. These cars, the Porsches and the Mark cars, are strong where the others may not be so strong. The Porsches are phenomenal cornering, they've got great handling, they've got grip for days, but they can lack sometimes on straight line power. So these Mark cars have that. They've got bucket loads of horsepower. So it's actually a pretty good matchup. I think there will be a handicap for the Mark cars tomorrow, bigger than the Porsches. Maybe 10 seconds in the pits, but we'll see.
So it is worth touching on that handicap a little bit, because that will become pretty interesting in the feature race tomorrow. Because what that will boil down to is every car has to make a compulsory pit stop, whether they need to do a driver change or not. So if you don't need to change drivers, you just have to sit there for your time that's allotted to you, and that's dished out based on how quick you are and just sort of bring the field in a bit closer. But if you're just in a solo pattern, all you just got to do is sit there, have a cup of tea, whatnot, relatively speaking. But if you're the number 8 car, for instance, Michael Kokonos, 6 foot something, compared with Courtney Prince, nowhere near that sort of height. There's a
young lady,
little bit more there. They've got to swap out a seat insert. They've got to change the height of the seat. They've got to change the angle, like the distance from the pedals as well.
Yeah,
do the driver change, never mind that, and make sure they can get everything all tidied up, because they probably won't have a whole lot of penalty time to spare after that.
They'll probably need all of their handicap time. But the other thing, when you're in the pits, if it's a minute and a half, your tyres are cooling down, your brakes are cooling down. So that starts to even up the race again. And if after we go through the pit car or the pit stops tomorrow and the driver changes, if we get a safety car after that, all bets are off. It could be anyone's.
Now, this battle, we thought we was done and dusted earlier on, but the number 130 of Andy Hall is caught right onto the back of Daniel Quimby here as they go side by side across the stripe. He's trying to have a look, but Quimby's holding him off and will get the line through turn 1. So it's great racing between these two 911s here right now as they go right past, I believe that is the number, I'm not sure which car that is, the white with the sort of the martini stripe
Yeah,
star.
the martini Porsche.
Just gets out of the way of that battle, lets them go on and have their fun there. So those ones are plugging away at the front there. Just going to take some quick stock of where the field stands at the moment. So it is Courtney Prince leading from De Alessandro. That is Anthony De Alessandro of the 101 car. That's a Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport, I believe that machine is. In my notes, I may have that completely wrong.
No, that's right. I'm not sure that the timing is. That seems off.
We'll keep an eye on that one. The timing's been all over the place for this race so far. Look at this! Side by side through Siberia. Daniel Quimby gets back up the inside of Andy Hall. Awesome scrapping between these two. Hall is going to try and hold on to the back of this one. They won't go side by side past the hay shed here, but this battle is far from over. It was a pretty treacherous part of the track, this corner right here earlier in the day, because we did have a car drop some oil and they had to put some oil down there, so it got a bit slippery, but that looks to have all cleared up. So cars going in full send across Lukey Heights, which is good to see. And now Andy Hall is all over the back of Daniel Quimby once again, ducking and weaving, trying to find the right line through 11 and 12 here. The most important thing will be how much momentum can he get.
What
oh my goodness, there's been a massive crash on the front straight. Sorry to cut away from that one. That is Jeff Taunton. You can see the front bar on the left, the car on the right. That thing has nosed into the fence. Yellow flags are out immediately. That will surely be a safety car, if not a red flag. That is a big hit. The door is open. Jeff Taunton is moving in the car. He looks to be all good. The damage looks to be mostly contained to the front of the car.
Red flag, we're being told now, Matt.
That is 100% a red flag. There is debris on the main straight, and he may have been involved with the number 24 that we were talking about before. That car is stranded on the inside of turn 12, just before where we saw the 95 go off onto the main straight there. So everyone has slowed right down.
Dear.
This race has been suspended, brought to a halt. We hope everyone's all right in that, but that was a massive incident. We just caught the back end of it here up in the commentary box, so we didn't see what happened live. We'll keep our fingers crossed for the drivers involved here. Jeff Taunton, we can see moving the car. I think hopefully at the very least he'll just have a bruised ego and be very annoyed with himself. But
look, to take the front end off the car, we're not seeing it yet live on the commentary. I'm looking outside the box. The front end is off the car. Jeff is moving inside the car, which is a good sign, but he would have had an absolute decent shunt from that collision. That's not a minor incident.
It certainly isn't. So red flags are out. The proceedings have been brought to a halt so far as we wait for the cleanup here and we check to make sure everyone's all right and get the cars moved out of the way here. In the meantime, we really have to give a massive shout out to all of our officials who help us out here at Island Magic and all throughout all of our racing that we do here. Our officials, our medical staff, our flag marshals that you're seeing on screen here, a lot of them are volunteers and we cannot go racing without them. They are so generous in donating their time and their effort and their energy to make sure that we can all go racing on the weekends, and we cannot thank them enough. If you want to be a part of motorsport from one of the closest seats in the house, from those marshalling points, from those vantage points, motorsport.org.au/officials is the place to go. They're always on the lookout for more people to help out at these events. So we cannot thank you enough. If you can hear us on the PA flag is down there, give us a wave. Thank you so much for all of your efforts throughout the Island Magic weekend as they continue waving those red flags. We're seeing all the cars filter into the pit lane now. So recovery vehicles are on the main straight right about now. We're just getting everything sorted out.
Sorry, Matt. For everyone watching, we're not showing it on the coverage. Just want to let you know that Jeff is out of the car. He seems okay. Helmet's off. He's talking to the officials. So that's a great sign. Again, this is racing. This is what can happen in racing. These guys are all very careful. There's a lot of money out there on the track in these cars. I can't imagine anyone was being incredibly reckless. We've got a replay coming, so let's see what's going on here.
In the meantime, the race has been declared. It is done and dusted. On paper, Courtney Prince is the winner, but that's not the most important thing right now. Just looked to have lost it all on his own there. Caught the inside wall and the front end just flew off. From this angle and this distance, it didn't look like a particularly hard impact, thankfully. And by seeing the bodywork coming off there looks to be a little bit of fire underneath the front of the car there as well. There's no fire burning now.
It almost looked, Matt, like he had lost control between 11 and 12 because he was sideways coming through 12. Not sure what happened there, if there's debris on the track or oil, or not sure if there's something wrong with the car. Lucky, very, very, very lucky that everyone coming through is okay, that no one else got caught up in that collision. That is frightening, and that's the reality of racing, unfortunately. But glad to see everyone okay. But yeah, that's the end of race one for the production sports cars today.
So an early end, unfortunately, to that proceedings. They will be back out on track later today for the B race. So the co-drivers and the solo drivers will be jumping back in for another 25 minutes of action. We'll have a little bit of clean-up time here in the meantime. But yeah, the main thing, as you said, is that everyone is all good. That is the most important thing. We can see the improved production cars are lining up on the dummy grid. They'll be waiting to come out next, but we will have a little bit of a delay in proceedings as we get things tidied up. There was a little bit of debris on the front straight there, which we should hopefully get sorted out in no time flat. So don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back with more racing action very, very soon here at Island Magic, presented by Blendline TV. Don't go anywhere.
After a bit of a short delay from the sports cars accident on the main straight, improved production are now leaving the marshalling area with thanks to Yokohama and Traction Tyre and Suspension to come out for the first preliminary in the quest to be crowned the Matthew Flinders Plate winner for season 2024. Tell you what, they've been sitting there probably for about 10 or 15 minutes longer than they otherwise would normally have. I wouldn't want to be a race car driver sitting in a hot car for that long. It is definitely getting up there temperature-wise. I think we heard Emma Dean say it's about 31 degrees or so. Air temperature out there, it's going to feel like a sauna in these tin top improved production cars as they roll out onto the circuit. So having a quick look through the grid as they come across your picture, there's been a few cars leave the lane already. So Jared Tonks will start on pole ahead of Andrew Butcher. Andrew Butcher is the only former winner in the field of the Matthew Flinders Plate here this year. Adam Poole, who's won the last three, went off to play with the sports sedans this year. So he's the only possibility that can win the title for a second time. Everybody else would be there first. Kate Lehman starts on the second row of the grid in third, next door to Luke Gretsch-Cumbo. Then comes the first of our visiting South Australians for today. Scott Cook in the Nissan Silvia, S13 out of 5th. Jinwook Song in the Commodore out of 6th place. George Michel from South Australia in 7th. Larry Merrifield, highest of the under 2 litre cars in the Honda Civic, starting out of 8th, ahead of Andrew Tickner and Michael Hart, 2 Holdens there in positions 9 and 10. Gary McKay's Little Tirana will start 11th with Wayne Twist in 12th. Brett Porter, who is 13th and currently leads the under 2 litre standings for the season, starting 13th, ahead of Andrew Rhodes Anderson. There'll be a gap in position 15 with Anton Bergman not taking the start for this race. Salvatore Imbrogno starting out of 16th with Paul Javots, Ian Statham from South Australia, Bruce Henley, and out of 20th will be Tom Allen. Then the last of the cars, Rohit Saini, Scott McLean, Nick Higgins in the Little Corolla, Andre Noy, Wayne Decker and Chris Bodal. We have 2 cars that'll be starting off the rear of the grid. One of them is the little black, yellow and pink Peugeot belonging to Callum Jensen, and the other is the bright yellow Pro Cut Tree Services Monaro of Ian McLennan. There's a couple of incidents from qualifying that were investigated this morning. So Ian McLennan was disqualified from qualifying for a technical infringement, and he starts from the rear. Callum Jensen unfortunately was caught out by the red flags passing another car when everybody was slowing down from the incidents this morning, so that's why he's starting off the rear. There are a couple of drivers that found themselves in a little bit of trouble this morning. So Tom Allen actually split an oil line and he ended up slipping on his own oil, and that brought him to a halt at the top of Lukey Heights. We had a delaminating tyre for Scott McLean, And the other car that I mentioned is the one that's not going to start is Anton Bergman. So his motor is seized up at some point during qualifying, and they've taken that car home to see if they can get it sorted out. If not, possibly come back in another car or wait and see what the morning brings for them. Keep an eye on that car there that just went over Lukey Heights, the yellow Monaro of Ian McLennan. He's going to be rather rapid, I would say, coming through the field, and hopefully to try and surge back in towards the top 10, which will give him a good starting position for tomorrow. And then right behind him was the little Peugeot you saw there from Callum Jensen. So cars coming around onto the start-finish straight now. This particular event for improved production goes all the way back to when it was converted to club car status in 1991, when the Matthew Flinders plate came over from the sports sedans over to club cars, and then of course the modern day name to improved production. So it's a long-standing award, it's a very coveted award and trophy in improved production racing here in Australia, and it only comes around once a year. Marshall's doing a very nice job there, just gathering up all the cars, putting them into the right spots, making sure that the vacant grid positions are observed for those cars that are not taking the start. And we're not too far away from being set to go. Just 2 or 3 cars left to put into place. The green XL there of Chris Bodal, Ian McLennan's in place, and then the last car, top left of your screen on the grid there, is the Peugeot of Callum Jensen. And we are set and ready to go here for traction tyres and suspension in Yokohama for the first preliminary for improved production. This is a little bit of a different feel this weekend because there's club points on offer as well. Revs rise. Power gets put to the ground with the Yokohama AO50s, and we surge off towards turn number 1. A good initial reaction for the front couple of cars, Butcher and Tonks, but I'll tell you what, Luke Gretsch-Cumbo had a fairly decent start from the second row as well, and he's rounded up the Epilepsy Foundation BMW well before turn 1. He had to go the long way round though, but he surges into position number 2. Likewise for Ian McLennan, he's made a good start from the rear of the grid as well. He's picked up a couple of spots as he picks his way through the 28 cars that encompass this improved production grid here this weekend. He's right on the back of the RX-7 now of Tom Allen. Watch this Monaro, it'll just plough straight past the number 62 into the high-speed left-hand corner known as Stoner. He's got to be very careful here though, because he's tucked in behind a couple of other cars, and he'll just have to bide his time and take a little bit of time to pick through. So a couple of cars have gone a bit too deep going into turn 4. That was Michael Hart and Andrew Tickner. They both, ironically, they both started on the same row of the grid. They started on row 5, so they've gone a bit too deep into turn 4, and the rules state that you go a bit too deep when you cross that broken line. You have to go round the MotoGP long lap penalty box, or if you go a bit further than that, you have to go around the return road to come back onto the circuit. So good evasive action there, didn't cause an accident. Everybody keeps going, and we head up and over Lukey Heights for the first time. It is a 14-minute race plus 1 lap. It'll still run the full distance. McLennan now down the inside of Scott McLean, going down the hill into MG corner. That brings him up probably to the fringes of the top 20, maybe just inside the top 20, as they complete lap 1 here. Tonks with a healthy margin out in front, but we're more focused now on seeing this yellow machine pick its way through the field. Wayne Twist in the BMW and Paul Javots in the Civic are the next 2 candidates. The Speedy Dry that's still there on the left-hand side of the circuit being kicked up by a few cars as they come off of turn number 12. Now Brett Porter, the number 52, being passed by McLennan. Brett Porter, as we said, comes into the weekend in the under 2 litre standings in front in that under 2 litre championship, but he did have an engine failure at the last round at Calder Park, so there is a stock engine aboard that Honda Civic for this weekend, literally just to drag it over the line, just to try and salvage and make sure that he circulates, he gets enough points, and then can be crowned the under 2 litre champion for the club in what would be his rookie season in the category. So it'd be a fantastic achievement for a rookie driver to take out the title this year. Larry Merrifield, who's a couple of spots just ahead of this little battle that's unfolding between McLennan and Andrew Rhodes Anderson. He's the current second place runner in the under 2 litre standings, currently the highest place under 2 litre car in the grid this weekend, having started out of position number 8. I tell you what, Andrew Rhodes Anderson in this Pakenham Tyres and more VS Commodore, he's going to be a bit hard to pass, I think, because he's known for being a bit of a hard charger through the field and has routinely started off the rear of the grid and found his way up through the field. And right now, I think this will be an interesting battle just to watch coming onto the front straight, out of turn number 11, power down, round the last proper corner on the circuit, turn 12, and then onto the front straight. If he gets a good run here, McLennan, he'll be very much past the VN in a flash. Tucked in behind him, though, is Ian Statham in the Mitsubishi from South Australia, a car that's quite rare in improved production. Don't see very many of them, but I think there's 2 or 3 of them over in South Australia. There was a couple of them up at the Bathurst 6 Hour a little bit earlier this year, and very close to capacity grid, and McLennan is through. So that brings him up to what would be 10th place in the standings. So I guess goal achieved at this stage for the Pro Cut Monaro. And he now sets his sights on the back of the Honda Civic of Larry Merrifield. A little bit of a replay what happened here over the top of Lukey Heights. Big lock-up for Cade Lehman on that last lap. Gets down the inside of Luke Gretsch-Cumbo, but unfortunately gives up not only that spot that he just very quickly grabbed, but he also gave up 3rd place to Andrew Butcher at the same time. So here is the P2, P3 and P4 battle as they come through turn 8. The Hayshed corner up over the top of Lukey Heights. Just behind them as well is the first of the South Australians in Scott Cook in the Nissan Silvia S13. He has been here before, would have been all the way back in 2019 was the last time we saw Scott. It was a very interesting year because this man on screen, Andrew Butcher, that was the year that he won the Matthew Flinders Plate. And I wouldn't say he fluked it, but he didn't have the mechanical gremlins that the lead 2 cars had on the day when they came to a halt within a lap of each other. And we ended up with Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland represented on the podium that year. As I said, he's the only one in the field this year that could win it, and then that would be a second-time winner for him. Everybody else that's in the field this year has not won the Matthew Flinders Plate. So the odds are that come Sunday afternoon, there will be a new name on that coveted trophy. Lehman's got his hands full here now with the BMW of Butcher. The BMW much more nimbler through the corners. A little bit better acceleration as well, but the horsepower and the straight line advantage does go to the V8 underneath that black and red VE number 26. Oh, there's a bumper. There's a bumper at turn 10. That's right on the corner apex there. Actually, just slightly off the corner apex, as we just saw Chris Bodale go through there. That's an orange bumper that's come off. Just trying to work out which car potentially that might have been that's missing that bumper. Possibly the only car I can think of is it may have come from the back of Andrew Rhodes Anderson's VN. That's the only orange that I can possibly see out there on the circuit, but yellow flags are out to warn drivers that there is that bit of debris. It is off the racing line though, but you can't sort of now run 2 by 2 through this part of the track. You get a good illustration here. They'll come round the corner and then the drivers will get it right in their line of sight and it'll be right there. So they all backed off through that part of the course. That's allowed Scott Cook to catch up a little bit to the back of Andrew Butcher, who's now ceded 3rd place to Cade Lehman in the running order. And Cade himself now trying to get back into the tow of the GC Electrical Senator of Luke Gretsch-Cumbo. 2 laps to go this time around. So here we go. Oh, there we go. I was right. It was Andrew Rhodes Anderson who looks like he'd had a little bit of a spin. And as he was trying to recover the car, big smoke show, and it looked like it might have been the little blue Civic of Paul Javots that just gave him a little bit of a love tap on the rear there and has dislodged the rear bumper of the Pakenham Tyres and More VN Commodore. Jared Tonks out in front, 6.2 seconds the advantage. He was the pole sitter, and when that car came back in after qualifying, it unfortunately looks like it had some sort of a water pump issue because it did drop a lot of water and a lot of fluid, not only inside the front bumper but also all over the floor too. So they managed to salvage that. They've got it out and running, and he enjoys quite a comfortable margin at the moment. He could walk it home from here. The real interesting battle is starting to heat up here. The Senator of Gretsch-Cumbo and the VE Commodore of Cade Lehman. They are nose to tail. They're starting to edge away from Butcher as they come up and over Lukey Heights for the penultimate time. Does Gretsch Cumbo go defensive down the corner here? They have a bit of a defensive move there for Gretsch Cumbo. They tuck back in. The checkered flag, I'm being told, is actually being ready to start finish line potentially here. They're waiting to see what they're going to do. There's a bit of indecisiveness actually. Tonks is coming around the final corner. The last lap board is now withdrawn. The checkered flag is now being waved. So I was a bit concerned there for a minute, thinking that maybe there might have been a bit of miscommunication about how many laps there were to complete. Gretsch Cumbo manages to hold off Lehman there for second, who comes home third. Butcher and Cook across the line for fourth and fifth. And then the next car that we're waiting to see across the line will be the Nissan Silvia of George Michel. This car coming around the final corner now. He'll be home for sixth. McLennan has had a moment somewhere, I would say, here, because he's fallen back behind the 52 of Brett Porter, which I wasn't expecting to see. So Porter is going to come home second overall in the under 2 litre class. McLennan looks like he might just be limping this car to the line. He's lucky actually not to be re-overtaken by Twist and Scott McLean there. His last lap time was just having a look there, it was a 1 minute 55. So that's quite a bit slower than his ultimate pace. His fastest lap of the race was only a 1 minute 49 flat actually as well, having to get through all the traffic. So quite a bit slower. Last few cars running their way to the line here now. Andre Noy in the Falcon, chased by the little under 2 litre Corolla of Nick Higgins. And Wayne Decker's going to get interested here, possibly in one last spot in the Audi on the last corner of the last lap. And he might just come up a little bit short here. It's going to be pretty close at the checkered flag, but just by about a quarter of a car length, Nick Higgins manages to hang on to that spot. That was for 23rd and 24th between them. Bruce Henley now across the line in the RX-8 as well. Good to see Bruce back in the field. We haven't seen him for most of this year. And there's a couple of drivers that possibly are still yet to register some times and to finish the race. The last one of those is the little green XL here of Chris Bodale. Andrew Rhodes-Anderson, I'm noticing, hasn't crossed the line after that lost bumper as well, which is now very kindly being picked up by the recovery crews down at turn 10. So the provisional results for the first race, the first preliminary of improved production, Jared Tonks, Luke Gretsch Cumbo and Cade Lehman in first, second and third. And that's important because for the first time in club history, Island Magic is a points scoring round towards not only the club championship but also the Victorian State Championship as well for improved production. So Tonks was the leader coming into the weekend. He extends that advantage by a little bit over Lehman. They were the only two that could possibly change hands this weekend, and Tonks now starting to put one hand on the club title for 2024. Butcher was home in fourth with Scott Cook home in fifth. Then it was George Michel, Jin Wook Song, Gary McKay, Larry Merrifield and Brett Porter. So 2 under 2 litre Civics inside the top 10. Ian McLennan got up to 11th there, and he was, as I said, he was just very lucky to be to avoid having been repassed by Twist and McLean, who were right on his hammer at the checkered flag there. Ahead of Ethan Statham, then Paul Javots, Andrew Tickner, who was off the road on lap 1, Tom Allen in the RX-7, Salvatore Imbrogno in the Toyota 86. Michael Hart is a bit further down the order than I would expect him to be, and then Rohit Saini rounded out the top 20 there. Most of the cars got home by the looks of things. Andrew Rhodes-Anderson there scored as 25th, just ahead of Chris Bodale, and the only driver that didn't start the race, which we mentioned, was, of course, Anton Bergman, having taken that car home after qualifying this morning. We're going to have a short break here. After all things improved production, we'll turn our attention to the second of the open wheel categories that are here this weekend. There are 3, of course. We've had Formula V. We're about to get a taste of Formula Ford on the other side of this.
no shame. We'll be in the backseat and flossy and flashy, so bring the champagne. Tattoos, perfume, got me feeling so damn cute. No blues, yeah, I'm feeling so high, about to elevate that soul. Taking the view when I walk into the room. Everything that I make, every look I create, yeah, I elevate the mood, change the game, make the rules. Everything that I touch goes from good to great, yeah, I elevate. Oh, I wanna elevate the style.
The second of the open wheel categories here this weekend is about to get underway on the picturesque piece of paradise known as the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. You can see there the rugged coastline of Bass Strait just off to the southern part of the circuit, down around turns 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And I tell you what, open wheel racing here is synonymous with Phillip Island. And with regards to all the trophies on offer here, the Phillip Island Formula Ford Trophy stretches all the way back to 1992, where Cameron Prince was the first victor of such event. Cool Drive have been a massive part of the Island Magic event for Formula Ford for many, many years. And I'm going to welcome Matt Dunlop to the mic, because it's not often we get to see you down here at Phillip Island, Matt, for Formula Ford, let alone at an Island Magic event. But Formula Ford have had a fantastic year in the Victorian State Series, haven't they?
They certainly have. Great to be in the box. Thank you for joining me here, Steve DeVries. It's been brilliant action all the way throughout the season. I've had the privilege of working with the Formula Fords, calling the action of quite a few of the races and watching some of these drivers. And in the Victorian Series and even in the Australian Series, who have come down and joined us for a couple of the Victorian events, phenomenal action all the way around. Indeed, a lot of the Victorian drivers had been putting in full Australian campaigns as well. So for a lot of the time, they were synonymous. You would see pretty similar fields in both of those categories, and there was like action was guaranteed wherever we went. Those who would have caught the broadcast when they were on the supercars billing at Symmons Plains a few months ago would have seen just how good it was. Side-by-side action, 5-car battles for the lead at a minimum, and then that rolled on straight onto the remainder of their season in the Australian and the Victorian Series. We saw some fantastic action here at Phillip Island in the damp last time out. Some really interesting racing lines opening up here. When the track, we're talking, there's no real risk of rain at the moment here. It's been a beautiful sunny day, no moisture whatsoever. But we do have a grid here for Formula Ford Race 1, which is coming up. So, Edison Beswick with the number 1 on his car, having taken out the Victorian and Australian championships this year. He will be going to the US next year to take part in a full US F2000 campaign. Massive congratulations to Eddie for that performance. And he's back to give that number 30 car, which was the number 30 throughout the year, one more spin with the number 1 on the side of it. He'll be starting alongside Lachlan Everett, who was 7th in the Victorian State Series, but had pretty good showings with 3 podiums, all of which were at Phillip Island across the 2 rounds that we had here for the State Series. So Lachlan Everett loves this track in the number 88 BF Racing Auto-Style machine. Keep an eye out for him when we get rolling. Giuseppe Imbrogno in the number 5 car will start out of 3rd position, with Bradley James having just joined Marcus Ambrose Motorsport, starting out of 4th position in the number 161. We've been seeing him tearing up the XLs with some awesome performances there. 7th in the Victorian XLs Championship with 1 win and 6 podiums, and let's see what he can do in a Formula Ford now. Nicholas Mendez and Jack Clifford line up in 5th and 6th in the 155 and 61 cars, respectively. Seth Boycart's in the number 24 will be 7th for Tickford Autosport, next to Jared Hurst, also representing Cool Drive Auto Parts, in the number 3 machine, starting out of 8th, and bringing up the rear of the Duratec class grid will be Tabitha Ambrose, daughter of Marcus Ambrose. Great to see her getting stuck back in the Formula Ford. She's been putting in a full XLs campaign so far this year. Had a little bit of running so far in this car, which is the ex-Paul Ziddy machine, now the number 45 Marcus Ambrose Motorsport car. So this will be her first outing in that machine at Phillip Island after having an outing at Sydney Motorsport Park earlier in the year, so I can't wait to see what she can do. Now, further back, we are also running the Formula Ford 1600 grid, so 9 cars representing them as well, starting with Nicholas McBride in the number 8 machine. That is the Swift FB89 lining up alongside Thomas Chapman in the Van Diemen RF01. Behind them, we've got Brock Brewer out of WA in the number 57, next to Todd Vince out of the number 17 car. He's also from WA. Both of those drivers in Van Diemen's, the RF93 for Brock Brewer and the RF94K for Todd Vince. Behind them, Andrew Torty, a name that we've seen a lot in Victorian racing. He's had 2 wins and 12 podiums so far in the Formula Ford Victorian 1600 Championship, bested pretty much only by Richard Davison, who isn't here this weekend. So Andrew Torty is going to be the driver to beat, I would imagine, although he is down a little bit on qualifying where he would like to be. Mark Redmond will line up alongside him from 20th position on the grid, but that will be 4th on the 5th, I should say, on the Formula Ford 1600 grid. Behind them, Gavin Dumas, who's also been doing quite a bit of running in the Victorian Series, next to Byron Thomas. That is a non-starter, though, the number 9 of Byron Thomas, so we won't see it out on the grid. So next to them, we will see Malcolm Coleman and Craig Arnold in the number 52 and 90 machines, respectively. So it's going to be a really good field of racing all the way up and down. We haven't really been able to see a whole lot of the 1600s racing throughout the series because they've normally been relatively small fields in the Victorian State Circuit Race Series, with the Duratex making up the bulk of the category, but it's a very even 9 cars in each category, so great racing all the way up and down. Can't wait for it. And we can't wait for you to join us as well. If you've ever thought about volunteering at a motorsport event and you're just not sure whether you want to take the plunge, go for it. Go for it. I absolutely guarantee you will not regret it. And flag marshalling is a great way to get involved. They're always looking for volunteers. If you head to vicflag.org.au, you can join the Victorian Flag Marshalling team and get yourself in one of the best seats in the house when it comes to racing. As close to the track as you can possibly get without sitting in a seat with 4 wheels underneath you. So we definitely recommend it. We can't thank the flaggies enough for being able to volunteer their time and let us come out here and go racing, along with all the other officials who make it possible for us to come and race. The race officials, we've got the medics, we've got the stewards, the cleanup crews, everyone who comes together, donates so much of their time and their energy and their effort to make these races happen. We cannot thank you enough, and it means we can go racing on beautiful days like this here at Phillip Island, one of the most picturesque racetracks, not just in Australia, I think it's fair to say the world. It's an awesome venue. We're so privileged to be able to come here. I'm lucky enough to say that it's my local track, having grown up about an hour away or so, and it's always a privilege to be able to come back here and commentate some fantastic racing everywhere I can. So yeah, as I said, thanks so much to the officials and the volunteers who help us go racing. To become an official, visit that website there, motorsport.org.au/officials. Maybe that's what you can do while we go to a little bit of a break, but don't go too far away because we'll have racing action in just a moment.
I'm back on my game, rocking these rings, all leather, no shame. One way in the backseat, I'm flossy and flashy, so bring the champagne. Tattoos, perfume, got me feeling so damn cute, no blues, yeah, I'm feeling so. good to great, yeah, I elevate. Oh, I wanna elevate the style.
Good afternoon. It's great to have your company here on Blendline TV. Good afternoon if you're in Australia, of course. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Blendline TV coverage of 2024 Pyark Island Magic. We are facing a little bit of a delay at the moment. We're hoping to get underway as soon as we possibly can, but proceedings have just been paused for a little bit here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. So the upcoming Formula Ford races had to be pushed back a little bit, so the cars are all still waiting in the dummy grid. Keep your eyes on the broadcast and we'll keep you updated as soon as we have some more information. Here's the schedule as it currently stands. Formula Fords will be hopefully out on track very, very soon. And then you can see that number 54 Cortina lining up just behind because the historic touring cars will be getting out on track after them for their race 1. Hopefully we should then see race 2 of the sports cars, the B race with the co-drivers jumping in for that race for another 25-minute sprint. And then Australia Formula Open will be rounding out today's proceedings with their race 1. And that's just today's action. So we're going to be taking a break for now. We'll be back soon. Folks, thank you so much for staying tuned to Blendline TV's broadcast of Pyark Island Magic 2024, while we've had a delay to proceedings here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, racing here at Phillip Island has been suspended for the rest of today. We expect to be on air tomorrow at 9 AM Eastern. In the meantime, thanks again for watching.